Welcome to The Strategic Edge, the podcast for entrepreneurs and business owners who want a competitive edge in the market. They want to be seen as the expert in their industry, and they're looking for cutting edge and innovative strategies that work across industries to help them scale their business like a boss. My name is Carden, and I'm your host. Welcome to the show. Hey everyone, it's Carden here, and I want to welcome you back to another episode of The Strategic Edge. I am very excited for my guest today. Her name is Cathy Sexton, and she is truly an expert in productivity. She's called the productivity expert, so that should tell you something. And Cathy, welcome to the show. I'm excited you're here.
Thank you for having me, Ann. I'm excited to be here.
Great. Well, you have a lot of good experience, so let me just very quickly tell everyone about you. First of all, she's the productivity and profit specialist. She is a speaker, an author, a TV host, and a coach. And she works with highly driven, overworked, underpaid Stresspreneurs and individuals to ignite productivity, increase profits, and accelerate their results. So we do similar things, except I don't work in the productivity space necessarily. So Cathy also uses her passion and empathetic nature to help people live healthy, productive lives. And why? Because she knows the health risk of being overworked. She's lived it, and she's paid a high price for living that lifestyle. As a result, Cathy is committed to helping others reduce stress by gaining clarity and focus. So get more done in fewer hours and make more money. Yes, who doesn't love that, right? So she says, let's get productive and get profitable. I have to tell you, it was interesting. I was just got off a call with a client a few minutes ago, and she's going through this very thing right now, going through growing pains and overwhelmed and just a lot of things. And so this is very real, and it hits, I know you work with business owners and professionals, so it hits them hard in their business and really holds them back. So that being said, again, I'm happy to have you here, and I know you are going to share so much value with my listeners today.
Awesome.
Perfect. So Cathy, tell us, I know there must be a story here. I always love, first of all, you can tell us a little bit more about your business, but then share your story, how you got into being the productivity and profit specialist.
Okay, so let's start there, and then we can go into what I'm doing currently.
Okay.
So I was in the corporate world, bookkeeper, assistant comptroller for 30 plus years, so in the accounting field. Mm-hmm. And then, as you had stated in my bio, I started having health issues. And then through that process, I was diagnosed with a life-threatening disease, which is caused, and it's induced and accelerated from stress.
Wow.
So I had to relook at my life, what I was doing, all that. And, that's really so it was self-reflection, self-diagnosis. I definitely was a workaholic at the time, kind of wore that as badge of honor, doing everything, right, that you have to do.
We do that, yes.
Yes. And then when I realized that, how it was going to affect my heart, my eyesight. So, had a daughter and, going away to college, it was like, oh my gosh, it was an eye opener when I was finally diagnosed. So I realized I had to start learning to work better and differently. And so I started going down my own personal growth of being more productive, not working harder, working smarter type thing. And then I really realized I needed to get out of the corporate world because the stress was not going to change any. So that's when I started my own business. And interesting enough, everybody, which you'll understand this, but everybody would ask me, but isn't owning your own business stressful? And I said, yes, it is, but it's my stress.
Yes.
I have control over what happens, what doesn't happen, the decisions that are made. I'm not trying to answer to somebody else who wants me to do one thing, but not willing to let me do it,
Right. Right.
So through that, I started a small, bookkeeping business because that's what I knew. That was my, my gift and my skills, basically. And then as I started doing that, I realized that small businesses needed so much more help than bookkeeping, right?
Yes.
So I started going down the road of the productivity piece and then started training, goal setting, time management, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wound up eventually had a partner that did not work out. So then when I had to refocus my whole business and life, I decided that I really enjoyed the coaching because I could see the difference I was making.
Yes.
And as I explored becoming just a coach, I realized that where my passion really was helping small business owners not go down that same road of being a workaholic, which is so easily that we do. We're stressed, we have a lot to do, we want to accomplish a lot, and we don't really know how to get there. So that's kind of how I did it. And so it's kind of, I've worked with CEOs and staff, but my really sweet spot is small business owners, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, small business owners who maybe, 0 to 10 employees, somewhere in there.
Okay.
And helping them through systems and processes and coaching. And then on the profit piece, it's more about teaching them how to pay themselves first.
Okay.
And a systematic way of being able to make sure that they're paying themselves first, they have money for taxes, and that they are making the profit out of that money that they have coming in. And it's all being done systematically. Yeah. So it's a process that, that they actually just implement, and then they wind up feeling better, because as small business owners, we tend to not pay ourselves. Everybody else gets paid before we do. And then we work so hard and we get burnt out. And then why are we working this hard? And, one of the biggest reasons why small business owners go out of business is because they aren't paying themselves and they aren't making sure their business is profitable. So, so that's kind of where my passion is, and that's what I'm doing currently.
Awesome. Yeah. So we definitely do a lot of the same things. So I work with small businesses as well. But I do a lot of different things, and I handle a lot in the marketing and sales and profitability, cash flow, all of those things too. But you are absolutely right that this is just it is why they go out of business. They run out of cash flow or they burn out. What is it? 96%, 97% of businesses fail in 10 years, I think, are the new statistics. So that's really heart-wrenching. And so I love your passion, because there is so many people out there that need help in their business, and I can't do it all, and you can't do it all, right? There have to be many of us that are out there trying to help them, because they're in there trying to run their business. They don't have time to learn all the moving parts and all the pieces and everything that they need to know to, like you said, work smarter and not harder. They don't have time to learn all the business stuff. They're in there trying to do their thing, right?
Right.
And really grow that into something. And so, no, I love that there's such a need for that. Wow, your story is incredible. Almost everyone has a story that has brought them into the coaching space, I think. And so I love your story. It's sad that you had to go through the health issues and all of those things. But it's great that you had the opportunity to be able to do something on your own. And you shared something. You said, well, isn't it stressful running your own business? Well, and you talked a little bit to that. And what is it? We work 100 hours for ourselves, so we don't work 40 for someone else or something like that. Yeah. But it's like you said, the difference is we really can pick and choose, and we can, if you don't feel good one day or you're sick one day and you're running a business like us, you a lot of times can just move things around a little bit, and it just isn't the same. I don't know how to explain it. It is a very different kind of stress. It's a more exciting kind of stress, I think. At least for me, it is. Like, I'm always excited about things. So I put all this pressure and the stress on myself. Right. But I can also back away from some of that if I need to, right?
Definitely, definitely. That's exactly right. And what you mentioned is that, we do go into business for whatever reasons, to offer our services of whatever. And we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
And small business owners, having other people we can rely on to help us get through, because small business owners, we know our skills, we know our crafts.
Yes.
And but running a business is a whole nother piece to the whole thing that most of us don't know.
Right. Well, there's a very real difference, and I talk about this a lot, in entrepreneurs and business owners, because business owners are typically, I would say, a little bit more maybe blue collar, right? Where they're a plumber, or they're running an auto repair shop, or they're running a restaurant or something along those lines. Entrepreneurs, though, are more in more the professional side. They have more professional services, and they typically have the time, because their whole business is based around their service and not building, a business in the same way. They're always out there learning and growing, and they're learning about business because they literally are taking nothing and turning it into something. So even though a lot of them still don't, as they grow, they don't have all the moving parts and don't know everything that they need, they still have, I think, a lot of times more business savvy maybe than small business owners. Do you see that too?
I think in some ways, I think there's also sometimes, in what you're calling a small business owner, sometimes those are carried on. Like I have a client,
generational, yes,
been working with for the last 6 years, and he was taking his business over from his dad. His dad wanted to eventually retire. So that's a lot of it. And so he has had no idea how to run a business. And so I think that is, and then I think as, on the professional services, I think we have opportunities to find out a whole lot more, because we're interacting with more people. We get to meet, people.
Yes. We're podcasting.
Or we're speaking, or we're in networking events, and those small business owners don't do that much of that.
No, and they don't really have the time either.
Correct.
Until they get to that place in their business where they're stepping out and they're stepping into more of a CEO role. I like to call, more the boss and not the doer, not the worker bee, right? But they have to get to that place in their business. And sometimes they don't even realize that that's possible, because they're starting as a plumber, or they're starting, their trade or their craft. I just find that there's a little bit different mindset maybe in small business owners and entrepreneurs, but I think it's more exposure. It's what they're exposed to, I think. In small business, they're kind of stuck in their business. Right. Entrepreneurs, professionals, we're out there, like you said, we're out there speaking, or we're going to conferences, or we're networking, or we're doing things where we're putting ourselves in the presence of other people who are doing similar things and that we can learn from.
I definitely agree. Agree.
Yeah. So very cool. So we know what brought you into the space. We know what your expertise is. So tell us, how do you, because there's a lot of us out there, right, that kind of do the same thing. How do you separate yourself, and what would make someone want to work with Cathy over somebody else out there saying they can, CPA, or somebody else saying they do what you do?
Right. Well, I think what separates me apart is when you look at, being a coach and an accountant, those two don't generally go together.
Right.
You're either one or, either one or the other. And I've been able to combine the two of them. So, which is natural for me. The systems and processes really do come pretty natural. But it really is a situation where, because I was let me kind of take a step back as I say this. So as I starting my new business, I kind of then eventually put the X mark on accounting. No more, not doing this anymore, because I'm doing the coaching, right? And then when I started circling back around to small business owners, I realized I can help them on that aspect of it. So helping them, making sure their books are right and that they're charging the right prices for their services and things like that. So it's really been, kind of the whole full circle, I guess. Mm-hmm. So because I do help small business owners with, their systems, processes, making sure that they're being as productive, I also bring in that financial piece. Mm-hmm. And can understand their books and help them understand their financials and things like that. So it really is kind of generally, your business, coach or, like you are kind of, the bigger picture, and then I can dig in deep in both of those areas.
I like what you're saying, because one of the things that I help people do is really understand how to run their business by the numbers, and how to, really, they should be able to look at their business at any time and know exactly what's going on so they can make the right decisions in their business. And I love that you're helping them also really understand the financial side, because that is what their business is, whether they like it or not. It's all about the numbers, right? It's all about, are you making money or are you not making money? But not even just, are you making money or are you not? You mentioned paying yourself. Look, I know too many business owners that stay broke business owners because mm-hmm. they don't take the steps to understand how to really really know their business, know what goes on with the money and how that affects their decisions. But, even buying decisions or adding to their business, or even adding that other employee, if they don't really understand, is this a good decision for my business or not? Mm-hmm. Is this going to put me in hardship? What happens if, right? They don't a lot of times think through those, they don't have those conversations with themselves. And I think a lot of times it's just because they just don't know. They don't know to do that. So I love that you're helping them understand that.
Yeah. And I don't think it's just not that they don't know, and that's definitely the majority of them, I think, is they don't know, but they don't want to know.
No. Oh, my gosh, that's such a great point. No, they want to do their thing. They don't want.
Right. They don't want to look at those books. That's right. Intimidating. Those numbers are intimidating. Right. Or it's just the accounting. I'm not good at that. And it's such an important piece mm-hmm. And that's why, developing this process and helping them just make it easier for them to be able to do that and know that they're making a profit, knowing that they're going to get paid, mm-hmm. Even though they're not on a payroll, they have a payroll, right. a payment schedule to pay them. It is so important because, as you said, either they are out of business because they're working so many hours and burnt mm-hmm. out, or that they're, broke. And we work so hard and then we're not paying ourselves. Mm-hmm. And then why are we doing this?
Why are you doing that? Like, why just go work for someone? I always say, I think I take a little bit of a hard line here with business owners that, like you said, they don't want to know. And I say, look, if you don't want to know this stuff, you might as well just go back and get a job with someone, because that's where you're going to end up anyway. But I want to turn that into a more positive thing too, because I will tell you, I was also one of those business owners many, many years ago where I just wanted to do my thing. I was so good at my thing. And even though I could, I knew how to expand my business and grow my business and run my business, I still wasn't always, I used to tell people, I love what I do, but I hate the business stuff. That actually came out of my mouth. Who knew I would be doing this for a living, right?
Right.
But the thing that I do want to say is that when you learn this stuff, when you learn the levers to pull and you learn how to make those decisions based on the numbers, it is the most empowering thing in the world. Mm-hmm. And it actually makes your business more fun. And this is not what people expect, right? But it's like, whoa, I have control over this stuff. I know for me, I remember telling my first coach, do you mean I have control over this stuff? And she said, yeah. So I want to just I want to say that they're missing out. by
Mhm.
taking that kind of, really the best way to say it is closed-minded approach to their business, because I was that person and I get it, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And as the client that I was telling you about, yeah, he's now so, up on his numbers and,
yeah, they become a rock star in their business.
yeah, they do. And,
Yeah.
it's just, and he gets excited and, oh, I got to share that,
Yes,
because,
yes,
he has this big
yes,
sale or things are going well, or he's able to pay this off or that off. They do. Once you realize that, I think it's a step back to realize, why did you go into business? But
right.
to make money, right?
They lose sight of that somewhere along the way. They do.
Mhm.
They get stuck in the grind and they actually lose their dream. I think they
Right.
lose their dream, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And they don't, I think sometimes they just don't even think big enough too, when they start their business. I mean, I started many of my businesses thinking I just needed some income. But then once I started, seeing what was possible, that dream got bigger, but you can't lose that along the way. And I know so many of them do. And I know you probably experience this as I do. When I go in and work with someone, they're ready to, a lot of times they're just ready to throw in the towel, and they're just so burnt out. They're so exhausted. They can't even see the forest through the trees anymore. And they're like, I just want to sell this, or I want to get out. I know you see that, but then when all of a sudden you're able to turn things around for them, all of a sudden, oh, they don't want to sell their business. I mean, no, now they love it. They love their bank account. They love their business, right? Do you
Right.
experience the same thing?
Yeah, oh, definitely. And they find their passion
They
again.
do. Yes.
And I always tell everybody that, when you're looking at your business goals and stuff, it really has to start with your personal goals.
It
Because
does.
what do you want personally?
Yes.
Because your business is going to fund or create whatever you want. But we tend to look at our business goals first and ignore and think there's a separation, but there's not, because that's why we go into business. So once they can reignite those personal goals and they realize, okay, I can do this now, it's
Yes.
flourishing to help you be able to, support those personal goals and those
Right.
family goals and those things. So that's very exciting to see it when it all turns
It
around and
is. I
happens
mean,
that
who
way.
doesn't want to be on Maui, right? In
Yeah.
Maui, and have their business run without them, and
Yeah.
you're making money. I mean, who doesn't want that, right? But no, it's very true. I always say, figure out what your goals are for your life and your business, and then let's reverse engineer and let's build your business around your life and not the other way around.
Right. Right.
So no, I love that. Those are such great points. Let's speak a little bit on the productivity side, because
Mhm.
we know, and I just shared with you, I was on the phone with a client, and she's in that growth stage, right? And actually 2 clients today that are in that same stage, and they hit that crossroads in their business where now they are just exhausted, but they know they have to move forward, and they know that, this is going to be a tough little spot that they have to get through. So let's talk about the productivity side of that. Because all of a sudden, this is where they start overworking and putting in so much time that they lose themselves and their entire family life. So do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So, yeah, you're exactly right. When we're in that kind of, we're inching up that hill, right?
Mhm.
And we're just thinking, God, it's so hard.
Yes.
And we're putting in, like you said, the extra time and hours. And I think that's when you have to stop and realize yourself that it's just a little bit further.
Mhm.
That if we just go a little bit further, we're going to hit the top of this mountain. There's always going to be another one.
Always. I was just going to say that those mountains never go away, do they?
But, we're almost to the top, and not to give up, because just think about it. When you are feeling that way, that's the time to get excited.
Yes.
That's the time to say, oh my gosh, it's time for something to turn and something big to happen. But then also we can't continue at a pace that's unhealthy or a pace that, so we have to make sure that we're doing, like I'm doing a program on Friday about self-care. We have to make sure that when we are working those type of hours and we're trying to go through this big push, that we have to take care of ourselves.
Absolutely.
And it's so important that, for your productivity, for your sanity, for your health, we need to make sure that we're taking the time and, the effort to, what I call expand your capacity. And by saying that, it's just more of being able to, are we filling our cup before we're filling everybody else's?
And sometimes just getting that time away, even if you are even for me, I know when I used to, go away and work on my business, even for a couple of days and just cut everything else off. And it was so refreshing, and it just kind of revitalized me. And that's one of the things I try to help my clients do, is take that time and, even if it's to go work on your business, also personal time, obviously, take that family time and all of that. But even just taking time out of your business, going and sitting down and thinking through business. I remember when I was running one of my businesses, one of my health clubs, and my husband has hunting property. And so we have an RV up there, and I would go up there and say, well, there's no internet, or there's no, the phone service is pretty sketchy. And I remember I used to go up there with him on the weekends, and there literally was nothing to do, but I would work on my business, and I would come back and I'd have all these changes and all this stuff and my assistant would say, please quit going. You come back, you have all these ideas, you're all fired up and you're all excited again. But that really is what that time away can do. But even taking time away with family and taking care of yourself. So I love that you also help them do that.
Yeah, I definitely, a planning day, I really recommend, a half a day a week, if you can, just to set it aside to catch up on things, once a month to take, that retreat type, time, and then quarterly, build something in quarterly so that you have time to reflect on what's happened and then where you want to go forward. But what that does, exactly what you said, is it gets you excited again. It gets you the possibilities.
Your mind just opens up. Like the ideas will just flow when you get away from all that, right?
Right. And, and I've done that, and I've gone with, a friend I know, also with Lethea, and we would go away just for a few days for relaxation, but talk about our business the whole time, just
we never really get away from it.
Right. But it's just, when you have somebody else that you can bounce things off of, and you just get re-energized and re-excited about what's going on. Yeah. So it's really an important part is that self-care and making sure that we're taking care of that.
I love it. I really wish more small business owners would really take that time for themselves and even get themselves around other like-minded people or take a retreat. Or I don't see a lot of them doing that until they really do become the CEO of their company. Often they don't do that, and they don't take that time. And it just really is, even going to conferences, you don't see a lot of them doing conferences and things like that. And I just really think they're missing out. I think when I talked about the difference in the small business space to the entrepreneurial space, I'm also speaking about my journey and my experience. I had brick and mortar businesses, and now I'm in the entrepreneurial space where, I'm online and I'm connected with people like yourself, and we're doing all these things. And I just know that was sort of me. I didn't take that time out of my business to go do those things enough. And so I think we could encourage people on this podcast today that they need to do that no matter what business they're in.
Oh, definitely. My one of my clients, he basically, would just do an industry, conference once a year, and he did it on a regular basis, and then he stopped going. And I go, you have to and you think, okay, I know. Well, you don't know. Things are constantly changing. And and it again, those things just spearhead your energy and you come back with ideas.
Yes.
But it is so important to, that they make the time. And that's what it is it's really making time. And when you're talking about, not taking that time, there are a few of my clients, at one time I was working with quite a few doctors, and I'd say, okay, the first thing you have to do is when we'd start, okay, when's your next vacation scheduled?
Right.
And I'd make them put it on their calendar because they just never had time. And, and so from a productivity standpoint, when you do schedule that time, I always recommend you take at least minimum of the day before and the day after so that you can get prepared mentally and take care of your workload before you go and when you come back.
Okay, there's a gold nugget, everyone. That's a good one. No, because we are hurried right up to, I'm actually leaving tomorrow while I'm, and I'm trying to cram everything in today. I'm going to actually take that advice. Thank you for that.
And then the day after is even more important because we come back, we have to answer all the emails, try and figure out, get back in the headspace of work. And we come back and we think we just have to pick up, but you really need that day after. And, so I block that time off and I have my clients, the day before and the day after. So you're really extending it. Now, if you get back and you get caught up and you want to start answering, some, phone calls that's fine. I'm back, but don't do it because, you have to jump right back in. Give yourself the time to really not be overwhelmed because we go on vacation and we go, why did I take a vacation? Look at all this stuff I got to do.
Right. Well, I think that's really great advice. I haven't done that before. I don't know if I've ever done that really before. So thank you for that. I think that is very valuable for people to hear. So what do you, if you're talking about, let's say, small business owners and their business, and they're at that growth stage and now they're trying to figure out, okay, how do you help them kind of navigate that growth between I need another person, but I don't have another person yet, and how do I make everything work and still do what you're talking about?
So when is that great timing? Great question, because, okay, I don't have the income to pay for it, but I need this. When, it's one thing for us everybody to pick up a few hours,
right,
kind of get through this time. That's one thing. But when it's consistently and it keeps on, nobody can keep on at that pace. Hey, it's time that you need to start, to back down because you're going to burn out your employees. And that's one thing that I think small business owners don't think about is they don't think about the level of pressure they put on their employees and what they expect from them. And if you have anybody like I used to be, I would just take it on and try to make it happen.
You tend to abuse those really good people, right?
Right.
And then realizing it.
And then they get burnt out, so being aware of what you're putting on somebody else and, have a way to be able to really look, okay, what kind of dollar amount do I need to needs to come in over the next 6 months to a year to offset that salary? Yeah.
Right.
So I think it's a number that, as you said earlier, most people don't look at it, that they just either hire or they hire, or they don't.
More stress on them because now they probably don't have the business coming in or it's a bit made. I see this a lot too. It's a very temporary surge in their business. And so they go out and they hire. And now all of a sudden they've got this person on the payroll and things slow back down. You see this when there's kind of upticks in the market but that is not sustainability. And so all of a sudden now they're getting into cash flow problems and all of these things, which adds more stress to their life and to their business. So it's always kind of a juggling act a little bit, in business.
Yeah, I think it is. And I think it's really knowing your industry. And if it's really, has that cycle that keeps on going back and forth. Yeah. So then maybe everybody just pitches in and works a little bit more. Make sure you pay them for that, or give them those bonuses. Or one thing that I used to do during tax time when I had my accounting business, because my partner was an accountant. So during tax time, everybody was working so hard. One day a week, I would bring in a massage person to do chair massages. One week we would have a pizza party or something, and
to let out steam. And I love it.
So doing something when you're going through those small spurts, don't forget to just take the time to let everybody breathe and show them that you really appreciate that little extra. But then too, again, let's go back to, but when it's, but you have to know when it's time to hire somebody and to to add that extra staff, and think about doing it in a short time. There are people who want full-time jobs, but are maybe willing, knowing that it's going to work into a full-time job. You don't always have to start with this full-time person. You can start with, part-time, use temporary help for a while to see if that's going to, ease the case. But the biggest thing that I think has to happen is to make sure you have the systems and the processes and the foundation.
Yes.
That if you're going to bring somebody in, how are you going to train them? How are they going to be trained? Do you already have all that in place? Who's going to train them? How are they going to be trained? And do you have everything documented to train them with?
No, those are and you're right. A lot of times they add even more stress to their life when they hire someone and they don't have all of that, and it's just chaos. And now they're trying to just work through the chaos, which it does not help the situation. You and I both, there are so many fundamentals that need to be in place in a business, for it to be able to be successful and sustainable, but also to make your life better. I always have, I've heard business owners say before when I worked with them, and I don't have time to implement the system. I go, really? Well, how many years have you been doing it this way? How's that worked for you, right? The Dr. Phil.
All the time.
How's that working for you? But no, it is. There's a lot to navigate in small business. But to that point, that is the value of working with someone like yourself, right? Working with someone like both of us. That's the value. We're partners to them for their success. We can help them pull the right levers, make the right decisions, not get stuck in all the stuff that's going on, all the stress, and just help them do things to work smarter and not harder. It isn't about working more hours.
Definitely. Definitely. It's not, and you're right, working with somebody, having somebody that you can be accountable to, somebody that's going to maybe push you a little bit out of your comfort zone, so that, but as you said, you've got a couple clients who are ready to go through that growth stage. Well, we can't grow if we're going to stay. We can't grow for tomorrow if we're going to stay in our actions from today or yesterday. Those have to change if we want something different. And to get something different.
And that, you have to push through those times.
But working with someone is huge. And I think that's why this industry, it has grown so much over the years, is that people are realizing that. It's funny, I have a client who, when he was doing a testimonial, he went through the whole thing, and then he said, and my undercover secret is Cathy Sexton, because, and it was so nice, but he goes, shh, don't tell anybody,
Yeah, sometimes it's funny when you know.
But it is about, people, the small business owner, I don't have the time and I can't afford to do that. Right. But you can't afford not to do it. And you do have the time. It's just shifting
your time in the wrong places.
Right. And so having somebody to show you, because we only know what we know.
Right.
We don't we can't see past that brick wall, but
We're all
other
like
people,
that. Yeah.
right? All of us, no matter what,
Right.
you know, and that's why we coaches have coaches, right?
I always say millionaires, you know, are mentored by billionaires. Why? Because they don't know how to be billionaires. They're not,
but you know, but they can see on the other, because they've already been on the other side of that wall.
That's right.
So they can help you push through and knock down some of those barriers, because because you don't know what you don't know, and you're just going to keep on doing what you've always done if you don't do something different. And so you need some inner insight. You need something from somebody else to give you some suggestions to make you think differently.
You know, that's such a great point. And one of the other things too is that people think, you know, they think, oh, I don't want to do that because it's going to be hard. But you're either moving forward or you're going backwards. It's just sometimes it takes a while for the decline to catch up with you. But that's something that a lot of people don't realize. If you're doing nothing, there's things happening. It's just not caught up yet, because nothing stays the same. Nothing stands still. Everything's always in motion.
Yeah.
So wouldn't you rather be moving that direction than waiting for everything to catch up and in that decline stage, and then all of a sudden, you know, things start falling apart and things happen? So either way, you're going to have the work.
Right. You know, and if somebody would have probably told me how much work it was to run a small business, I don't know that I would have taken the leap if I would have truly known. But, you know, I love it. I love what I'm doing. And, you know, and I could easily be a workaholic if I wanted, but I know I have to keep that in check. But I do it now because of passion and because I love what I'm doing, and I love seeing it. But, you know, really making sure that it's, you know, that you have the things in place to make you grow, to help you grow, to move you forward. But it really is so important, because especially with what's happened currently.
Right.
Pandemic we're in, right?
Right.
And the businesses, there are some businesses that are failing or have failed already. And because, number one, they weren't prepared.
Correct.
Okay. Number two, either they were in that coastal point where you said they were just, you know, kind of trying to just keep it above water anyway.
Well, when there's a good economy, it doesn't mean you have to be good in business.
Right.
Correct. And I think a lot of people have experienced that.
Right. And that's why I've, you know, with this system, you know, this systematic system that I have, you know, people put away what I call a reserve for when they're downturn. We all have downturns in our business, every single one of us.
Yes.
There's nobody who doesn't. And you have to be able to live through that.
Yes.
And, you know, luckily some of my clients have flourished through all this, and other clients have not, you know, and some of them are still struggling to come back. And it's I lost a lot of clients, but, you know, clients are coming back, but I could still sustain what I was doing.
Sure.
And by having that foundation and that reserve to be able to do that. So I call it future-proofing your business, to make sure that no matter what you do, you need to have that foundation.
Yes. And I think too many people in business only worry about what's going on right now, and they really aren't thinking. They're not forward thinking in the fact, you know, that things can change. I mean, I have seen this, you know, I've been building businesses for 29 years. So I've been through the recession and Y2K and 9/11 and all of those major things that have gone on. And the recession went on for 4 years. And I actually expanded during that time. And, you know, I talk about that. The only way I was able to do that was because I had built something sustainable and that, you know, could carry me through. And I think too many people don't think ahead like that. And they're only thinking about what's happening right now, and they're reacting to what's going on right now. And when things are good, a lot of times they think it's going to stay that way forever. Like there's just this myth that, or this idea that it's just going to stay that way forever. And that's just not reality, right?
Right. It's just like, okay, I'm going to get to this point and everything's going to be smooth sailing.
Right.
But it never is. And, it's constantly growing. It's constantly changing with whatever's going on.
Yes.
And it's making sure you have the systems and the foundation and the processes to be able to be agile enough to move with what needs to move.
Absolutely. Well, you have shared so much great value. This has been a great back and forth conversation too. I love organic interviews because I feel like a lot of things come out that weren't planned for, and just the back and forth. So Cathy, thank you so much for sharing your expertise. Give us one great tip, your best productivity tip that you have.
The best productivity tip is, I don't know that it's best, but the first one's going to come to my head, and that is, at the end of the day, plan tomorrow. Because you're already in think mode, you're already in work mode, and it's only going to take you a few minutes to know what you need to do tomorrow morning, instead of waking up tomorrow morning and trying to figure out, what do I need today? We have to think through and figure out what's going on. But when you plan the night before, you can jump right into it, and it can save you up to an hour the next day.
Wow, nice. Now that almost sounds like a proactive tip. I love it. And not reactive. No, the next morning is reactive, right?
Right.
So let's see what's going to be thrown at me today. I love it. Well, this has been great conversation. Thank you so much for being my guest on the show. I've just really enjoyed having you, and you've shared great things with our guests today. So with our listeners. So I know they're going to get a lot of value from this.
Great. I'm glad to enjoy this time with you, Ann.
You too. So until next time, everyone, I want to thank you so much for being with me on another episode of The Strategic Edge. And until next time, you have an amazing day. God bless you. Bye-bye.